Let's put it this way. There are fences around all the land of Bayfront Park.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I understand.
But there's not fences through other avenues.
I understand. We're going to this turned into a long show. The next show will be our live show, July 24th, 5:30. That's correct, right? Next show is a live show?
Yep.
Because Michael's going to be out of town. So July 24th, 5:30 at Delono's, 4th Street, downtown Minneapolis. Come on and check that out. We'd like to have some new faces as well as all the regulars there next time. We're going to finish up with a couple more Twitter questions. As always, we didn't get to very many of them because we had so much other to talk about. We do appreciate the questions. Thank you to Delono's Pizza, downtown Minneapolis. Also, huge delivery area. Thanks to Twill in the Edina Galleria, fixologyrepair.com, downtown in the Skyway and at the Mall of America, and Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund. Again, this Saturday, the Viking Update show, the Shaver and Taylor show, we'll be doing live 11:30 and 12:30 at Tony's place. If you want to come out and say hello, maybe get a hat or a shirt, something like that. A couple more Twitter questions, and we'll send Michael on his trip from Pat. And this is delicate, I know, and just say pass if you don't want to deal with it.
Pass.
Okay.
No, I'm just
He was going to ask, is Suter as bad for the culture of the locker room as the whispers/rumors suggest?
No, I'm not going to. There's no whispers that I need to discuss.
All right. From Luke Reachins, which player is the most likely to be which Wild player is the most likely to be traded for the beginning of the season, if any?
Well, if they're not doing well, any of their guys in their last year of the deal, the Stalls, the Zuckers, that's if he's saying in season, that'd be the most.
I think
likely.
he means before the season starts.
Okay, and then before the season, it could be Zucker. I mean, it really could. Depends how much Fenton can stomach this.
From Jer, your thoughts? Victor Louvre trade seems pointless now. Do you agree?
The Victor Louvre trade for Lucia and Birchie?
Yes.
Well, Lucia, both those guys, they knew Birchie was going back. They had a deal in Switzerland this year, and they knew Lucia wanted a fresh start somewhere else, so they just grabbed a depth defenseman. But if you look at the history of Wild trading minor leaguers at the deadline, they're always guys that have asked to be traded that maybe hasn't fully reported that they have. And they're usually for, they made a trade to Boston years ago. I can't remember who it was. And the guy they traded for, I immediately sent some sources. I'm like, inside the organization, can I get a scouting report on this player? And they just wrote me back, don't bother. A lot of times it's that team needs you to take a contract.
Yep.
A lot of time, and in Louvre's case, it was like they knew they were traded Riley, so let's get a defenseman in here and put him in the minors, and maybe one day we bring him up. That type of thing.
Two more Twitter questions, then Michael's off to Italy. From WH Bonnie 14, is it best for the team to just tread water, not do anything significant until Kaprizov arrives, and then start building then?
Well, if that's the case, Wild fans will just be driving me crazy the next 2 years. I mean, if they tread water remember that's
A long
3
time.
seasons from
Yes.
now. I mean, that's a long time to tread water. I don't know about
New
you.
GM can't really do that.
I could tread water for probably. I haven't been in like a pool in a long
8, 9
time,
seconds?
but probably for like 4 or 5 minutes before I drown. Treading water for almost 3 seasons would probably put this fan base in a.
So I underestimated when I said he could tread water for 8, 9 seconds?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I did. From Alec, last question. How does a beat writer handle trade talks?
You try to, get people to give you actual information and not throw stuff against the wall. All again I can tell you is, and I know I've been harping on this, but I'm so tired of, if it's not Elliot Friedman or a beat writer or Bob McKenzie or Pierre LeBrun or Darren Dreger or Chris Johnston telling you trade stuff, don't believe it. We're the ones on the inside. Do you think that Rumor Break on Twitter is finding out? What was my favorite one was, everybody's saying that the Wild were going to make this deal last week with Toronto, and he had who was going to be in the deal, Gardner and Logan Brown for Dumba. The day that they signed Tavares, the greatest insiders in this sport didn't even know that Tavares was going to sign in Toronto with 100% certainty that anybody was able to break it. Nobody. Because Toronto is the most tight-lipped organization ever that nobody dares to speak. And here's a 32-year-old new GM, and he kept the Lou thing up. So the greatest insiders in the freaking world couldn't break that Tavares was going there. And then a minute later, Rumor Break had who was in the Toronto trade to Minnesota. Like, use your freaking head, okay? Would you trade Dumba for Jake Gardner or Logan Brown?
No.
So don't ask me about it. And that's my point, is that beat writers ask questions and you try not to throw stuff against the wall. You know, one of our guys at The Athletic had an awful thing happen to him yesterday, and it still might happen, but he had a source, and I know who it was, and it was as good as you can get, telling him that yesterday that Pat Maroon was going to likely sign with the St. Louis Blues. He writes the story. Deal is not done, though. But it's coming from people that are close to Maroon. That story all of a sudden got other teams involved.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden it's like he was wrong when he wasn't. Now, it still might happen. I think Maroon's signing with St. Louis. His son lives there. He's from there. It makes all the sense in the world. But it might not. You know, and then I had his agent on the radio yesterday, and his agent's like, it's not done. We're talking to multiple teams, including, by the way, the Wild. And the Wild are interested, but they got to trade somebody. He said all this on the radio. And we're probably not going to be able to be patient for that to happen. So, like, Maroon most likely is going somewhere else. But he's got 1, 2, 3-year offers from other teams. And so... You know, so sometimes you also write something with sources and you're wrong. And, like, I feel bad because then our writer had a little backtrack a little yesterday and say things aren't as likely that they seem. And, you know how fans are. They start, you know, ripping on him like he was wrong when he absolutely wasn't. But, you know, there are a gazillion ways that I can go with that question. But all I could tell you is that I try not to throw stuff against the wall. When I wrote that Arizona thing, trust me, it created if people knew the stuff I was dealing with behind the scenes after I reported that, they would not even, like, if you were me, you'd probably never want to report something again.
From Wild people or from,
like you know, it was so doggone accurate. Fenton all of a sudden basically didn't know who to trust in his organization anymore, and it was not a Wild source that told me, and so. You know, that's the thing is like I'm trying to, you know, this is where I should probably not talk, but I'm trying to educate Fenton about me right now that he does not always have to think I'm getting stuff. You know, same thing the other day when I was able to on every one of their free agents get it before. Trust me, it is not from inside the organization. I've covered the league for 24 years. I got sources everywhere. You know, and I'm not trying to sound pompous, but. You know, I mean, on free agency and trade deadline, that's where, to me, I try to make my money, you know, if so to speak, you know, bad metaphor. And so, like, I try to find stuff out. And some writers wait. I don't. I get bored that way. To me, especially now at my new thing, like, I want people to subscribe and know that they can come to me to find out information. So you know, but there's a perfect example. Like, there's an example. Like, if you read me, you know I don't throw stuff against the wall. So when I was willing in an article to say that the Wild were talking about a framework with Arizona of Zucker, Niederreiter going there with Ennis for Dvorak and Domi, and the Dvorak thing is what really flipped this thing on its head because Domi was obviously traded at this point, but Arizona didn't want Dvorak to know that he was potentially in a move, and it created a major problem for them. But for me to go that far just shows you that you had it with 100% certainty. And then again, the reason why I was throwing guys like Niederreiter and Zucker out here all the time is that I am talking to other people and I know they're being talked about. So that's my long rant on that one.
I was a beat writer big league beat writer from 89 through 2007 on a daily basis before I started doing from 1989 through 1997 before I kind of started doing more features and columns and everything else. And there were times I covering both the Twins and the Vikings where somebody would call me up and say, hey, that story you wrote, the GM or the PR director's walking around the offices asking who told me.
Yeah.
You know, people freak out when you have inside information.
And I can't convey to you how nervous it made me because I didn't want anybody.
You don't want anybody to get fired.
You know, and I also know how tenuous the situation is, and so you know, so it was tough. You know, and trust me, I mean, I don't blame Fenton. You know, Fenton doesn't know most of the people, so he wants to know that everybody's loyal to him and not giving me leaking something that sensitive out. Right. And it was a scary thing. So
I have inside sources telling me Michael Russo's on his way to Italy, and that we'll be at Dulono's, downtown Minneapolis, July 24th, 5:30. We'd love to see you there. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Dulono's, Twill, Thixology, and Tony Hoaglund. And we will see you on July 24th.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world